foot on your right lap. Om Namaste Namaste Namasakinam Roganam Chakshushe Namaste Sarvebhyo Shri Vaishnavebhyo Brahmanebhyo Bhakta Mahajanebhyo Namaha. All can repeat. Aseshe E Parishate Bhavat Padamule Maya Samarpitam Imam Yatkinchate Dakshina श्रीमन्नारायण प्रीत्यर्थं योग्यता सिद्धिमनुग्रहाणां योग्यता सिद्धिरस्तु दर्भेश्वासिनः पवित्र प्राणिः त्रिप्राणानागम्या. Now we are going to start the sankalpam. Om Shuklam Vardhanam Vishnum Shrivarnam Chaturbhujam. Harihi Om Tatsat. Shri Govinda Govinda Govindasya Shri Bhagavato Mahaprasasya Shri Vishnurajnaya Pravartamanasya अस्मिन् वर्तमाने व्यवहारिके प्रभवादे षष्ठिसंवत्सराणां मध्ये शमतो श्रीशुभकृतनां संवत्सरस्य उत्तराग्ने ग्रीष्मऋतौ आषाढमासरस्तु भौमवासरयुक्तायां शुभनक्षत्रशुभयोगशुभगणेन नष्टायामस्यां शुभतो श्रीं भवताग्नेया शमन्नारायणप्रीत्यर्थं श्री सत्यनारायणेन कारगिष्ये श्रीमानस्य गोत्रोद्भवस्य. all of you repeat your gotram, names, nakshatram, सह कुटुंबानां क्षेम स्थैर्य विजय वीर्य भय आयुः आरोग्य पुरुषार्थ वेदोदर्पणः अंगैश्च सहिता सर्वे कलशान्तसमाश्रिताः आयान्त देवपूजार्थं दुरितक्षयकारकाः गंगे जगमने चैव गोदावरी सरस्वती नर्मदे सिन्धु कावेरी जलेऽस्मिन् सन्निधिं कुरु तेनोदकेन पूजामण्डपेन पूजाद्रव्याणि च देवमात्मानं प्रोक्षणं कृत्वा तत्सेसं विसृज्यकेरादौ सकलमङ्गलकार्या निर्विघ्नेनानुकूल्यता सिद्ध्यर्थं महागणपतिपूजां च करिष्ये. Now we are going to do the Mahaganapati Puja. Please take one flower and yellow rice in your hand and please chant Om in your mind. Rajam Brahmanam Brahmanaspata At Om Bhuhu Mahaganapatimaavahayami Om Bhuvaha Om Swaha Om Bhurvavaswaha आदिपतये नमः अर्घ्यं समर्पयामि स्नानानन्तरे आचमनं कुङ्कुमान् समर्पयामि पुष्पमालिकान् समर्पयामि पुष्पैः पूजयामि. ओम सुमुखाय नमः ओम एकदन्ताय नमः ओम कपिलाय नमः ओम गजकर्णिकाय नमः ओम लम्बोदराय नमः विकटाय नमः विघ्नराजाय नमः धूमकेतवे नमः गणाध्यक्षाय नमः बालचन्द्राय नमः कुमारगुरवे नमः मूषिकवाहनाय नमः सर्वसिद्धिप्रदायकाय नमः श्रीमन्महागणाधिपतये नमः. नानाविधपरिमलपत्रपुष्पाणि समर्पयामि धूपमार्ग्रापयामि शाङ्गलं दीपं दर्शयामि उद्दीप्रश्चदातवेदो मग्नं नैतुर्मम पशु कृद्महे वक्रतुण्डाय धीमहि तन्नो दन्तिः प्रचोदयात्. हे बोलो महागणपति भगवान् की जय. महागणाधिपतये नमः. समस्तोपचारपूजान् समर्पयामि. प्लीज रिपीट. वक्रतुण्ड महाकाय कोटिसूर्य समप्रभ निर्विघ्नं कुरु मे देव सर्वकार्येषु सर्वदा. श्रीमन्महागणाधिपतये नमः. मनसोदिष्टप्रार्थनं समर्पयामि. अनया पूजया च भगवान् सर्वात्मकः महागणपतिदेवता सुप्रीता सुप्रसन्ना वरदा भवन्तो. महागणपतिप्रसादसिद्धिरस्तु. शतमानं भवति शतायुः पुरुषः शतेन्द्रिय आयुष्येवेन्द्रिये प्रतिष्ठति. महागणपतियथास्थानं प्रतिष्ठापयामि शोभनार्थे क्षेमाय पुनरागमनाय च. आदौ सत्यनारायणस्वामृतपूजा कर्मणि आदित्यादिनवग्रहपूजां च करिष्ये. Now we are going to start the Navagraha Puja. So please chant Navagraha Devataya Namaha in your mind. So on your behalf I am going to perform the puja over here. ओम शक्त्येन दशा वर्तमानो निमेषन्नमृतं मर्त्यञ्च हिरण्येन सवितारतेनाधेवो ज्ञादुवनादिवश्चन् जपाकुसुमसङ्काशं काच्छपेगं महातितं तमोरं सर्वपापघ्नं प्रणतोऽस्मि दिवाकरम्. अधिदेवता प्रत्यदेवता सहिताय सूर्यग्रहमावाहयामि स्थापयामि पूजयामि. चन्द्रग्रह आराधने विनियोगः. ओमाप्याय सुतमेदुरे विश्वतः भवाभाजस्व संगते दधिशङ्कतुषारापं क्षीरोधारणमसम्भवं नमामि शरणं सोमं शम्भोर्मुकुटभूषणं. देवता प्रत्यदेवता सहिताय चन्द्रग्रहमावाहयामि स्थापयामि पूजयामि. अत अंगारकग्रह आराधने विनियोगः. ओम अग्निर्मूर्धादिवत्कगत्पति पृथिव्या अयम् अपागं रेतागं सिदिन्वते धरणीगर्भसम्भूतं विद्युत्कान्तिसमप्रभं कुमारं शक्तिहस्तं च मङ्गलं प्रणमाम्यहम् अधिप्रत्यदेवता सीतायाङ्गारग्रहमावाहयामि ओम उद्बुद्ध्य स्वाग्ने व्रीडागक्षेणमिष्टापूर्ते सकं सुदेशामगिञ्च पुनर्गृह्मग्रस्तादं विमानमन्वादागं सीत्वयन्तुमेतं प्रियङ्गुकलिकाश्यामं रूपेणां प्रथमं बुधं सौम्यं सौम्यगुणोपेतं तं बुधं प्रणमाम्यहम् अधिदेवता प्रत्यदेवता सीताया बुधग्रहमावाहयामि ओम बृहस्पते तदर्घ्योर्गा आद्यमद्यपादिकृतमज्जनेषु यद्दीतगच्छ तदप्रदाता ततस्मासु दृढं देहि चित्रं देवानां च ऋषीणां च गुरुं काञ्चनसन्निभं बुद्धिपुत्रं त्रिलोकेशं तं नमामि बृहस्पतिम् अधिदेवता प्रत्यदेवता सीताय बृहस्पतिग्रहमावाहयामि स्थापयामि पूजयामि ओम प्रभशुक्राय भानवे वृद्धम् अव्यवदिञ्चाग्नये सूतं यो देव्यानि मानसा जनोगं श्रियन्तरविश्वानि विद्मनादिकाति इमकुन्दमृडालापं दैत्यानां परमं गुरं सर्वशास्त्रप्रवक्तारं भार्गवं प्रणमाम्यहम् अधिदेवता प्रत्यदेवता सीताया शुक्रग्रहमावाहयामि स्थापयामि पूजयामि ओम मता शनेश्वरग्रह आराधने विनियोगः ओम शन्नो देवीरविष्ट्रग आपो भवन्तु वीतके श्रयोर्विश्रवन्तुनः नीलाञ्जनसमाभासं रविपुत्रं विमाग्रजं छायामार्ताण्डसम्भूतं तं नमामि शनेश्वरम् अधिप्रत्यदेवता सीताया शनेश्वरग्रहमावाहयामि स्थापयामि पूजयामि ओम कयानश्चत्रावपदूति सदा व्रतस्तका आकया सदष्टया व्रता अर्धकायं महावीर्यं चन्द्रादित्यानिवर्धनं सिमिका गर्भसम्भूतं तं राहुं प्रणमाम्यहम् अधिप्रत्यदेवता सीताया राहुग्रहमावाहयामि स्थापयामि पूजयामि ओम केतं गृह्णन्न केतवेपेशो मर्यापेस्ते समजद्विरजागिताः पलायवसङ्काशं तारकाग्रहमस्तकं रौद्रं रौद्रात्मकं घोरं तं केतुं प्रणमाम्यहम् अधिदेवता प्रत्यदेवता सीताया केतुग्रहमावाहयामि स्थापयामि पूजयामि अभिमुखे करोमि ओं भूः आदित्यादिनवग्रहदेवतमावाहयामि स्थापयामि पूजयामि अभिमुखे करोमि नवग्रहदेवताभ्यो नमः सुप्रीता सुप्रसन्ना वरदा भवन्तु आदौ सत्यनारायणस्वामिव्रतपूजाङ्ग पञ्चलोकपालकपूजां च करिष्ये ओं गणानां त्वा गणपतिं हवामहे कविं कवीनामुपमस्तवस्तवं ज्येष्ठराजं ब्रह्मणां ब्रह्मणस्पद आनशृण्वन्नोदिभिस्तेजसादनम् ओं भूर्भुवस्वः गणपतिमावाहयामि ओमिदं विष्णुर्वं ब्रह्मजज्ञानं प्रथमं वरस्तादुधीमनस्सृचोभेन आवह सबुज्ञापमाहस्तविष्टस्ता समस्तयोधमस्तमिवः ऋणो देवी सरस्वती भाषैर्भाषणीपति धीना पवित्रवत् वाणी हिरण्यगर्भमावाहयामि स्थापयामि पूजयामि नारायणाय विद्महे वासुदेवाय धीमहि तन्नो विष्णुप्रचोदयात् महादेव्यै च विद्महे विष्णुपत्नी च धीमहि तन्नो लक्ष्मीः प्रचोदयात् लक्ष्मीनारायणमावाहयामि स्थापयामि पूजयामि तत्पुरुषाय विद्महे महादेवाय धीमहि तन्नो रुद्रप्रचोदयात् गणाम्बिकायै विद्महे सर्वसिद्ध्यै च धीमहि तन्नो गौरी प्रचोदयात् उमामहेश्वरमावाहयामि स्थापयामि पूजयामि कात्यायनाय विद्महे कन्याकुमारी धीमहि तन्नो दुर्गिप्रचोदयात् ओं भूर्भुवस्वः दुर्गामावाहयामि गणपत्याद पञ्चलोकपालकमावाहयामि स्थापयामि पूजयामि ओम इंद्राय नमः अग्नये नमः यमाय नमः निरुते नमः वरुणाय नमः वायुवे नमः कुबेराय नमः ईशानाय नमः अष्टदिक्पालकदेवतमावाहयामि स्थापयामि पूजयामि अभिमुखे करोमि अतध्यानम् Now we are going to do the Avana for Satyanarayana Bhagavan. Please chant Satyanarayana Namaha in your mind. Om Shantaakaram Bhujagashayinam Padmanabham Suresham Vishwadaram Gaganasadrisham Megavaranam Shubhangham Lakshmikantam Kamalanaganam Yogi Vridhyanagamyam Vande Vishnum Bhavavayaharam Sarvalokaikanaatam Meghashyamam Pitakoshekavasam Srivatsangam Kaustubodbhasitangam पुण्यो वेदं पुण्डरीकागदाक्षं विष्णुं वन्दे सर्वलोकैकनाथं शशङ्खचक्रं सकरीटकुण्डलं सपीतवस्त्रं सरसीरुहेक्षणं सहारवक्षस्थलशोभिकौस्तुभं नमामि विष्णुं सरसा चतुर्भुजं छायायां पारिजातस्य हेमसिंहासनोपरि आसीनमम्बुदश्याममायुताक्षमलङ्कृतं चन्त्यं गुणातीतं गुणत्रयसमन्वितं लोकनाथं त्रिलोकेशं कौस्तुभाभरणं हरिं नीलवर्णं पीतवासं श्रीवत्सपदभूषितं गोविंदं गोकुलानंदं ब्रह्माद्यैरभिपूजितं नारायणाय विद्महे वासुदेवाय धीमहि तन्नो विष्णुप्रचोदयात् महादेव्यै च विद्महे विष्णुपत्नी च धीमहि तन्नो लक्ष्मीः प्रचोदयात् ओं भूः सत्यनारायणस्वामावाहयामि ओं भुवः सत्यनारायणस्वामावाहयामि ओं सुवः सत्यनारायणस्वामावाहयामि ओं भूर्भुवस्सुवः सत्यनारायणस्वामावाहयामि स्थापयामि पूजयामि सत्यनारायणस्वामिने नमः प्राणप्रतिष्ठा महामन्त्रस्य ब्रह्मा विष्णुमहेश्वरा ऋषयः ऋग्यजुस्सामदृछन्दाकं सै प्राणशक्तिः वरा देवताराभ्यः जम्रीं शक्तिः रों कीलकम् अस्य जमानस्य सर्वाभीष्टसिद्ध्यर्थे सत्यस्वं प्राणप्रतिष्ठा सिद्ध्यर्थे जपे विनियोगः ओं रामङ्गुष्ठाभ्यां नमः ह्रीं दर्शनीभ्यां नमः रों मध्यमाभ्यां नमः रेमनामिकाभ्यां नमः रों कृष्णकाभ्यां नमः रवकृष्टाभ्यां नमः रामप्रतिकाय नमः ह्रीं शिरसे स्वाहा रों शिखागौष्ठेरें कवचायुधं रोग्नेत्राभ्यामौष्ठेरः अस्त्रायवटे भूर्भवस्वरोमिति दिग्बन्धः स्वामिन् विश्वजगन्नाथाय यावत्पूजावसानकम् तावत्त्वं प्रीतिभावेन कलशेऽस्मिन् बिम्भेऽस्मिन् पटेऽस्मिन् सन्निधिं कुरु आवाहितो भव स्थापितो भव अवकुण्ठितो भव सुप्रसन्नो भव शान्तो भव यजमानस्य सर्वाभीष्टफलप्रदो भव यावत्प्रीतिभावेन अस्मिन् कलशाय अस्मिन् चित्रपटाय स्थापयामि पूजयामि अभिमुखे करोमि आवाहित सत्यनारायणस्वामिने नमो नमः नानारत्नसमायुक्तं स्वर्णपीठविराजितम् आसनं देवदेवेश प्रीत्यर्थं प्रतिगुह्यतां महारत्नसिंहासनं समर्पयामि पादयोः पाद्यं पाद्यं समर्पयामि व्यक्ताव्यक्तस्वरूपाय ऋषिकमामि देव सौम्य आचमनीयं त्वां प्रभो सत्यनारायणस्वामिने नमः मुखेः आचमनं समर्पयामि तस्य बालिकदेहनः उषतीरिव मातरः तस्मादरङ्गमामहो यस्य क्षया गिदन्मत आपो जनयता जनः सत्यनारायणस्वामिने नमः स्नानं समर्पयामि स्नानानन्तरे आचमनं समर्पयामि वेदसूक्तसमायुक्ता यज्ञसामसमन्विता सर्ववर्णप्रदो देवा वासती प्रतिगृह्यतां सत्यनारायणस्वामिने नमः वस्त्रार्थम् अक्षतान् समर्पयामि ब्रह्मा विष्णुमहेशादिनिर्मितं ब्रह्मसूत्रकं यज्ञोपवीतधारणेन प्रियतां कमलापदे सत्यनारायणस्वामिने नमः उपवीतार्थे अक्षतान् समर्पयामि श्रीगण्डचन्दनं दिव्यं गन्धाद्येशमनोहरं विलेपनं सुरश्रेष्ठं प्रीत्यर्थं प्रतिगृह्यतां सत्यनारायणस्वामिने नमः दिव्यपरिमलचन्दनं समर्पयामि प्लीज अप्लाई चंदन हल्दी एंड कुंकुम सौभाग्य शुभदे देवी सर्वमंगलदायिने हरिद्रान्ते प्रदास्यामि ग्रहण परमेश्वरी हरिद्राचूर्णं समर्पयामि सर्वमंगलमांगल्ये शिवे सर्वार्थसाधिके शरण्ये त्र्यंबके देवी नारायणी नमोस्तुते कुंकुमसिन्धूराणि समर्पयामि पुष्पमालिकान् समर्पयामि पुष्पैः पूजयामि सत्यनारायणस्वामिने नमः सत्यनारायणस्वामिने नमः अत अंगपूजां च करिष्ये ओम प्लीज ऑफर वन फ्लावर ऑन द सत्यनारायण भगवान ओम सत्यदेवाय नमः ओम पादौ पूजयामि सत्यात्मने नमः ओम गुल्गौ पूजयामि सतन्त्रये नमः ओम चारणीं पूजयामि सत्यसंकल्पाय नमः ओम जङ्गे पूजयामि सत्याधीशाय नमः ओम ब्रह्म पूजयामि सत्यसेव्याय नमः ओम गुरुदं पूजयामि सत्योदरानमुद्रं पूजयामि सत्यधर्मान् नमः हृदयं पूजयामि सत्कामान् नमः पार्श्वं पूजयामि सत्येष्टान् नमः मृतदेशं पूजयामि सत्यपरायणाय नमः स्कन्दौ पूजयामि सचौर्याय नमः बाहुन् पूजयामि शतवक्षाय नमः हस्तौ पूजयामि शतदंष्टाय नमः कण्ठं पूजयामि शतवेद्याय नमः वदनं पूजयामि सत्याच्युताय नमः नासिकां पूजयामि शतशर्मान् नमः श्रोत्रे पूजयामि शतपूर्णान् नमः नेत्रे पूजयामि सत्यौषधाय नमः भ्रूमं पूजयामि सत्यानन्दाय नमः भ्रूमध्यं पूजयामि सत्यापुंसे नमः ललाटं पूजयामि सत्यग्रहरूपिणे नमः शिरः पूजयामि सत्यनारायणस्वामिने नमः सर्वाङ्गानि पूजयामि सत्यनारायणस्वामिने नमः अत अष्टोत्तरपूजां च करिष्ये ओम सत्यदेवाय नमः ओम सत्यात्मने नमः ओम सत्यभूताय नमः ओम सत्यपुरुषाय नमः ओम सत्यनाथाय नमः ओम सत्यदाक्षिणे नमः सत्ययोगाय नमः ओम सत्यज्ञानाय नमः ओम सत्यज्ञानप्रियाय नमः ओम सत्यनिधये नमः सत्यसंवाय नमः सत्यप्रभवे नमः सत्येश्वराय नमः सत्यविक्रमाय नमः सत्यकर्मणे नमः सत्यमङ्गलाय नमः सत्यगर्भाय नमः सत्यप्रजापतये नमः सत्यविक्रमाय नमः सत्यस्थिराय नमः सत्याच्युताय नमः सत्यवीराय नमः सत्यबोधाय नमः सत्यधर्माय नमः सत्यग्रजाय नमः सत्यसन्तुष्टाय नमः सत्यवराहाय नमः सत्यपराग्रहाय नमः सत्यपूर्णाय नमः सत्यौषधाय नमः सत्यशाश्वताय नमः सत्यप्रवर्धनाय नमः सत्याविभवे नमः सत्यज्येष्ठाय नमः सत्यश्रेष्ठाय नमः सत्यविक्रमणे नमः सत्यधन्वने नमः सत्यमेधाय नमः सत्याधीशाय नमः सत्याधीशाय नमः सत्यकृतवे नमः सत्यकालाय नमः सत्यवत्सलाय नमः सत्यवसमे नमः सत्यमोगाय नमः सत्यरुद्राय नमः सत्यामृताय नमः सत्यवेदाङ्काय नमः सत्यचतुरात्मने नमः सत्यलोकाय नमः सत्यशुचये नमः सत्यस्थिताय नमः सत्येन्द्राय नमः सत्यसंगाराय नमः सत्यस्वर्गाय नमः सत्यनियमाय नमः सत्यवेदाय नमः सत्यवेद्याय नमः सत्यपीयूषाय नमः सत्यमायाय नमः सत्यमहिमाय नमः सत्यसुरानन्दाय नमः सत्यसागराय नमः सत्यसिंहाय नमः सत्यमृगाय नमः सत्यलोकपालकाय नमः सत्यस्थिताय नमः सत्यौषधाय नमः सत्यदिक्पालकाय नमः सत्यधनुर्धराय नमः सत्यम्बुजाय नमः सत्यवाक्याय नमः सत्यकुरवे नमः सत्यनागाय नमः सत्यदाक्षिणे नमः सत्यसम्प्रदाय नमः सत्यसम्प्रदाय नमः सत्यवहिवाय नमः सत्यबाहवे नमः सत्येकराय नमः सत्यानन्दाय नमः सत्यादिराजाय नमः सत्यजीवादाय नमः सत्यगुप्त्याय नमः सत्यपुष्कराय नमः सत्याद्रुढाय नमः सत्यभामारताय नमः सत्यामुखान्मा शतदंष्ट्रान्मा शतनासिकान्मा शतश्रोत्रेन्मा शतचक्षुषेन्मा शतशिरसेन्मा शतमुकुटान्मा सत्यप्राणान्मा सत्यायुधान्मा सत्यश्रीवल्लभान्मा सत्यगुप्तान्मा सत्यपुष्करान्मा सत्यदृढान्मा सत्यभामारतान्मा सत्यग्रहरूपिणीन्मा सत्यपराक्रायुधान्मा सत्यनारायणदेवताभ्यो नमो नमः। अष्टोत्तरपूजान् समर्पयामीष्टकाम्यार्थसिद्धिरस्तु समस्त सन्मङ्गलानि भवन्तु। सत्यनारायणस्वामिने नमो नमः। अथ धूपमार्द्रापयामि। ॐ दशाङ्गलं मुक्लोदुपं सगन्धं च मनोहरम् आग्रयस्तर्वदेवानां धूपोऽयं परिगृह्यतां। सत्यनारायणस्वामिने नमः। धूपं समर्पयामि। दीप्रस्थितवेदो मध्यं नैऋतं ममावधूगस्य मध्यमावः जीवनं च दिशो दश। दीपं सन्दर्शयामि धूपदीपानन्तरे निवेदनार्थे। ॐ भूर्भुवस्सुवः। ॐ भूर्भुवस्वः दत्तविदुरेण्यं भर्गो देवस्य धीमहि धियो यो न प्रचोदयात्। सत्यनारायणस्वामिने नमः। सपादवक्षं निवेदयामि। मुगीफलताम्बूलं समर्पयामि। सुवर्णमन्त्रपुष्पदक्षिणां समर्पयामि। कर्पूरमङ्गलनीराजनं दर्शयामि। ॐ हिरण्यपात्रं मदो पूर्णं ददाति मदव्यो जानेति एकदा ब्रह्मणोपहारति एकते भगजमान आगस्तेजो ददाति। सत्यनारायणस्वामिने नमः। मङ्गलनीराजनं समर्पयामि। नीराजनादमध्ये आलपनं समर्पयामि। आचमनीयानन्तरमध्येन परिमलपत्रपुष्पाणि समर्पयामि। रक्षान् धारयामि। नमस्करोमि। जय बोलो सत्यनारायण भगवान की जय। राजाधिराजाय प्रजग्दशाग्नेः नमो वयं वैः श्रवणाय कुर्मः। शमे कामान् कामकामागमख्यं कामेश्वरो वै श्रवणो ददातु। कुबेराय वै श्रवणाय महाराजाय नमः। सत्यनारायणस्वामिने नमः। वेदोक्तमन्त्रपुष्पाणि समर्पयामि। गन्धाक्ष So now we are going to do the Satyanarayana Vartha Katha, which all of you kindly listen with great devotion.
Worship of Lord Sri Satyanarayana is an integral part of Sanatan Dharma. This auspicious Satyanarayana Katha narration comes from one of the 18 Puranas, the Skanda Purana. It is in the form of a dialogue between Lord Vishnu and sage Narada. Sri Satyanarayana Puja gives devotees the opportunity to shower the Lord with prema and bhakti, and in return the four rewards of life are fulfilled: dharma, artha, kama and moksha. Once 88,000 rishis assembled at the forest Naimisharanya and asked Maharishi Sutta, the narrator of the Puranas, "O Maharishi, please tell us how mankind can attain salvation." Maharishi Sutta answered, "Once Narada Muni asked Lord Vishnu, the consort of goddess Lakshmi, the same question. I will tell you what Lord Vishnu told Narada, so listen carefully. Once Narada, during one of his sojourns to the various world, came to earth. There he saw the people suffering as a result of their past deeds. To alleviate their sufferings and bring them salvation, Narada travelled to Vishnu Loka. There he found Lord Vishnu adorned with Shankha, Chakra, Gada and lotus in his four hands and garland around his neck. Narada spoke humbly, "O Supreme Lord, the Saviour of the destitute and the troubled, I surrender at thy feet." Lord Vishnu said, "Narada, why have you come here? Tell me what you want, I will fulfill your wishes." To which Narada replied, "O Bhagavan, people on earth are suffering in many ways as a result of their own past sinful deeds. Please bestow thy grace and reveal to me as to how they can be helped." Lord Vishnu replied, "O Narada, mankind can rid itself of all its sorrowings by performing a puja called SatyaNarayana Puja. This puja, when performed, according to religious rites, will bring happiness, peace of mind, and wealth in this life and salvation beyond. On hearing this, Narada was filled with joy and addressed Lord Vishnu thus: O Lord, in your infinite grace, please tell me the details of the puja that you just mentioned, how and when to perform it, and who has performed it before. Lord Vishnu answered, this puja can be performed in any month on a full moon day. One must gather his friends and relatives, perform the puja with devotion, and offer fruits, ghee, milk, curd, butter, wheat flour, sugar, and honey to the gods. After the puja is over, he must read the SatyaNarayana Kada and distribute prasad to everybody. If the puja is thus performed, it will bring fulfillment of one's wishes. Particularly in the Kali Yuga, this puja will brings contentment.
जय बोलो सत्यनारायण भगवान की जय.
Jai.
Will anyone read? Okay. Okay.
Maharishi Suta continued addressing the assembled rishis. O rishis, I will tell you who all have observed the Satyanarayana Puja in the past. Once there lived a very poor Brahmin in the beautiful city of Kasi. Plagued by acute hunger, he used to wander about here and there every day. Lord Vishnu took the form of an old man, appeared before the poor Brahmin and asked, Friend, why are you wandering aimlessly? The poor Brahmin replied, Sir, I am a very poor man, unable to bear the pangs of hunger. I beg for alms. Sir, if you know a way out of this misery, please tell me. Lord Vishnu, who was in the guise of an old man, replied, O Brahmin, Lord Satyanarayana grants his devotees' wishes and removes their sorrows, so you should perform his puja and reap its benefits. Lord Vishnu then explained the details of the Satyanarayana Vrida to the poor Brahmin and disappeared. The poor Brahmin immediately resolved to perform the puja. After a sleepless night, he got up early in the morning and went to beg for alms, his mind fixed for only one thing, namely the puja. That day, puja with relatives and friends. With Lord Satyanarayana's grace, he shed his poverty and lived a contented moksha. Maharishi Suta thus told the assembled rishis the story which originally was narrated by Lord Vishnu to Narada Muni. The rishis again addressed Maharishi Suta, O great one, please tell us in detail who else performed the puja. Maharishi Suta continued, one day, when the poor Brahmin from Kasi was observing the Satyanarayana Virada, a woodcutter entered his house and asked for water. Seeing the Brahmin perform the puja, the woodcutter inquired what the puja was about and what good it would bring. The Brahmin, who had been bestowed with Lord Narayana's grace, spoke, This is called Satyanarayana Vrada. Anyone who observes this Vrada will get all riches. I myself have been bestowed with wealth. The woodcutter was delighted to hear this. He learned the proper way to perform the puja, ate the prasad that was offered, and went his way. With Lord Satyanarayana on his mind, the woodcutter resolved that he would observe the vrata with whatever he was going to make by selling firewood that day. He went to that part of the city where rich people lived, sold the firewood, and made twice the normal profit. Pleased with his luck, the woodcutter bought bananas, sugar, ghee, milk, curd, honey, and wheat flour and performed the Satyanarayana Puja with his friends and relatives. By Lord Narayana's grace, he too acquired enormous wealth and lived comfortably and attained moksha. End of chapter.
Satyanarayana Bhagavan ki
Jai. Maharishi Suta continued, O best of ascetics, I will now tell you the story further. In the olden days, there lived a wise king by the name Ulkamukha. He had mastered all his senses and always spoke the truth. He used to go to the temple every day and give gifts to the Brahmins. His lotus-faced wife was a pure and pious woman. One day, the royal couple was performing the Satyanarayana Puja at the banks of river Bhadrashila. At that time, a merchant called Sadhu sailed by. Seeing the king perform some puja, Sadhu stopped his boat, got off, and addressed the king humbly, O king, would you kindly tell me what you are doing with such devotion and concentration? The king replied, O Sadhu, I have no children, in order that I may be blessed with children. I am worshipping the Lord SatyaNarayana. On hearing this, Sadhu spoke humbly, O king, please tell me how to perform the puja. I would like to observe the Vrida as I too have no children. The king told him all the details. Sadhu returned home and with great joy told his wife that they should perform Satyanarayana puja, which will fulfill their desire to have the children. He then resolved to perform the puja after the child was born. Then, by divine grace, Sadhu's wife Leelavati conceived, and in due course a beautiful daughter was born to them. They named the child Kalavati. One day, Leelavati reminded her husband of his promise to perform puja. Sadhu told his wife that he would do the puja at the time of daughter's wedding and got busy with his work. In the meantime, Kalavati grew up and blossomed into a lovely girl. Sadhu sent out messengers to find a suitable bridegroom for his daughter. One of his messengers found a good natured and handsome boy in a Vaishya family from Kanchananagar. Sadhu found the boy to be a suitable match for Kalavati and celebrated his daughter's wedding with great pomp and show. But Sadhu completely forgot about the Satyanarayana puja and thus angered Lord Satyanarayana. Then one day, Sadhu went on a business trip with his son in law. He stopped to trade at Ratnapura that was ruled by King Chandraketu. Lord Satyanarayana placed a curse on Sadhu. One day in Ratnapura, some thieves robbed the king's treasury and were running away. The king's soldiers followed them in a hot pursuit. The frightened thieves threw the things they had robbed near Sadhu, and his son-in-law were sleeping under a tree and escaped. Finding the king's treasure near Sadhu and his son-in-law, the king's soldier arrested them and brought them before the king. The king ordered them to be chained and thrown into prison. Because of Lord Narayana's Maya, nobody even listened to what Sadhu had to say in his defense. King Chandraketu also confiscated all their merchandise. Lord Narayana's curse did not spare Sadhu's wife. Some robbers broke into her house and Leelavati lost everything. One day Kalavati was very hungry and ran out of the house. She wandered here and there and stopped at a house where Satyanarayana puja was performed. She stayed at that place until the puja was over and ate the prasad that was offered. When she reached home, it was late night. Leelavati asked her where she had been. Kalavati told her mother that she was listening to Satyanarayana Kada in somebody's house. Leelavati at once remembered her husband's promise to perform the puja and resolved to observe Satyanarayana Vrata herself. She collected all her relatives and friends and prayed to Lord Satyanarayana to forgive their sins. Lord Satyanarayana was pleased with Leelavati's prayer. He appeared before King Chandraketu in his dream and told him to release the two merchants from prison as they were not the real thieves. If the king failed to do so, Lord Narayana warned that his kingdom, wealth, and children would all suffer. Next morning, the king told his counselors about his dream and ordered Sadhu and his son in law to be released. The latter was frightened and stood before the king with bowed heads. The king talked to them gently and said, You too have suffered a great deal because of your fate, but there is nothing to fear. The king returned their merchandise, gave them new clothes and lot of gifts, and bade them goodbye.
जय बोलो सत्यनारायण भगवान की जय. Chapter 4.
Chapter 4. Sadhu and son-in-law loaded their boat with the riches given to them by the king and sailed homeward. Lord Satyanarayana wanted to test the Sadhu further. He took the form of ascetic with trident, appeared before Sadhu and asked him what he was carrying in his boat. Without realizing that the ascent was indeed Lord Narayana in disguise, Sadhu laughed mockingly and said, You Brahmin, where you are thinking of stealing my things, we do not have any valuables in the boat except vessels. Whereupon Lord Narayana replied, Oh, Sadhu, so be it. The ascetic then departed and went to the seashore to meditate. When Sadhu went into his boat, he discovered to his horror that the boat was filled with vessels, just as he had falsely told the ascetic. Sadhu swooned at the sight, but he was revived by his son-in-law, who said, This might be the curse of ascetic. He must be the mystic. Let's go to him and ask his forgiveness. The two merchants then went to the seashores where the ascetic was meditating. They fell at his feet and repeatedly begged for his forgiveness. Pleased by Sadhu's devotion, the Lord said, Sadhu, do not weep. You will suffer because you have broken your promise time and again. On hearing this, Sadhu prayed to God, O Lord, even Brahma and other devas drowned in your Maya cannot comprehend your form completely. How can I, with my limited knowledge, comprehend your various forms? I pray within my limited knowledge. Please show me your true form and bless me. Upon hearing his prayer, God was pleased and granted his wishes, restoring his merchandise in the boat and disappeared. The two merchants then joyfully sailed homeward. On reaching their hometown, they sent a messenger to their wives to inform them of their safe arrival. At that time, Leelavati and Kalavati was performing SatyaNarayana Puja. Leelavati quickly finished the puja and asked her daughter to do so. She then hurried to the seashore to meet her husband. Kalavati, in her eagerness to meet her husband, forgot to eat the prasad and rushed to the seashore. This action of hers angered Lord Satyanarayana. He caused the ship and her husband to drown in the sea. Not finding her husband, Kalavati started weeping. All were wonderstruck and frightened. Sadhu was at a loss to know what to do. Thinking that it was Lord Narayana's Maya, he announced to that he would perform Satyanarayana Puja and pray to Lord again and again. At this, Lord Satyanarayana, the savior of the sinners, was very pleased and said, O Sadhu, your daughter did not eat the prasad in her haste to see her husband, so I made him and the boat disappear. Let her go home, take the prasad and return. On hearing this, Kalavati rushed and took the prasad. When she returned to the seashore, she found to her joy her husband and the boat. Then Sadhu returned.
SatyaNarayana Bhagavan ki
Jai. Chapter 5. Maharishi Suta continued. Once there was a king, Tungatvaja, who underwent a lot of misery after refusing the Satyanarayana Prasad. One day after hunting, he was resting under a shady tree. Some cowards were happily performing Satyanarayana Puja nearby. The king, in his vanity, refused the prasad they offered. When he reached his palace, he found that his kingdom, his 100 sons, his wealth, and everything was destroyed. Then it occurred to him that Lord Satyanarayana was probably angry with him. He went back to cowards, prostrated himself before Lord Satyanarayana, and performed the puja with great devotion. Lord Satyanarayana showered his blessings, and the king regained everything he had lost earlier. He lived happily and reached Vaikunta after death. Maharishi Suta said, O holy man, I have narrated to you the Satyanarayana Krada, which was originally told by Lord Vishnu to Narada Muni. By observing this Vrata, mankind can attain salvation. In this Kali Yuga, observance of the Vrata lead to gratification of one's wishes. Thus ended the narration of Maharishi Suta, after which the rishis returned to their respective homes.
Jai Bolo SatyaNarayana Bhagavan ki Jai. All of please stand up. SatyaNarayana Swamnaha Vrata Sampurnanga. ध्यायेत् सत्यं त्रिलोकेशं कौस्तुभ आभरणं हरिं नीलवर्णं गोकुलानन्दं ब्रह्माज्ये रविपूजितं सत्यनारायणं देवं वन्देऽहं कामदं प्रभुं लीलया सततं विश्वं येन तस्मै नमो नमः. All of you please do 3 pradakshinas. यानि गानि च पापानि जन्मान्तरकृतानि च तानि तानि वनश्यन्ते प्रदक्षिणं पदे पदे पापोऽहं पापकर्माणां पापात्मा पापसम्भवां त्रायिमां कृपया देव रक्ष रक्षो जनार्दन सत्यनारायणस्वामिने नमः. वेदोत्तमन्त्रपुष्पाणि समर्पयामि दक्षिणनमस्कारान् समर्पयामि. पूजान्ते चतुर्धाम्ना सर्वोपचारपूजान् समर्पयामि. यस्य श्रुत्या च नामोक्त्या तव पूजा क्रियादशो नूनं सम्पूर्णतां यादौ सद्यो वन्दे समुचितम्. मंत्रहीनं क्रियाहीनं भक्तिहीनं जनार्दना यत्पूजितं मया देवा परिपूर्णं तदरीना सत्यना समर्थता सम्पूर्णांगा सत्यनारायण देवता सुप्रीता सुप्रसन्ना वरदा भवन्तु। सत्यनारायण स्वामिने नमः। तामङ्गलनीराजनं दर्शयामि।
क्षण में दूर
जय, महालक्ष्मी माता की जय। forward. முன்னாடி வாங்க. कायेन वाचा मनसेन्द्रियैर्वा बुद्ध्यात्मना भा प्रकृते स्वभावात् करोमि यद्यत् सकलं परस्मै नारायणायेति समर्पयामि।